Oh, I read your article. Someone should help me.
Maybe someone should do it for me.
Almost. It worked good last week. 1 second.
I just put the ring in the flag. It works. Where is that ring?
It was showing earlier where it should be.
Good. Is that okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Very good. So we're learning this evening. The Dvar Malchus Sikha of the Rebbe from Parshas Teitzei Toshin Nonala. And the learning is taking place in the Beis Knesses, the Tzedek in Ir Atika of Ir Kodesh Tsfat. And this evening is Yom Chamishi Balayla Le Yud Gimel El Toshin Ayin Tov. So, as is customary over the last few weeks, and for certain other reasons, we're going to try and place emphasis more on the latter part of the Sikha, because the first parts of numerous of these Sikhas we've already dealt with. So I'll summarize just briefly the early part of the Sikha. The Rebbe makes a diuk that minig by Yidden and Kriyas HaTorah on our Shabbos is that Kriyas HaTorah, the Shabbos, embraces two parshas. In other words, you read the parsha of the week, the Parshas Shavua, and then Mincha, in the late afternoon of Shabbos, you read the Parsha Haba, at least 10 psukim or so of it. So there must be a connection between them. There wouldn't be such a minig unless it had some essential link between the two parshas. And somehow or another, they must be united in one inyan. So the Rebbe said if we examine the two parshas which are read this Shabbos, it would seem that we have like two inyanim which are not only different one to the other, but they're opposite one to the other. That the parsha of the Shabbos, that we read the whole parsha, Shabbos in the morning, is Teitzei. And Teitzei means you go out from where you are. And like it's brought down in the Medrash, that Ein Oimrim Tzei Ela Lemi Sharui B'fnim. You only say you should go out if you're inside somewhere. You don't tell somebody to go out if he's already outside. And particularly, that not only that, it mentions the idea of war, going out to war, and that means a change in a person's very basic alteration in his situation, and coming into a state of the opposite of entrance, b'derech menucha, to something. by way of rest. Mashenkin ki tovoi is the idea of coming into something, and especially as the whole beginning of the parsha, ki tovoi indicates that, because as if you will come into Eretz Yisrael and you will divide it up and you will have you will conquer it and you will you will take it over for your own, and then you will grow trees and then you'll have fruits and you'll bring them to the base of me. All that indicates, how to call it, a very elevated Seder of Manuka and what we might call in Yiddish, Hityashvut. Mashenkin ki Teitzei implies the exact opposite of that, going out and also a war and also, states of uncertainty, that's connected with a war. Mashenkin, when you come into something and you take it over and it becomes yours, then that's a state of rest, and on the contrary, of balance in one's life. So therefore, said the Rebbe, that's like a very basic difference between the nuance of the two parshas, and yet nonetheless we read them in the same Shabbat. There must be some connection and link between them. So that's basically the Rebbe's, how would you call it, goal that he sets in the Sikha to show us how those two inyanim can nonetheless be connected one to the other. In order to explain that and to deal with that at full length, he touches on another basic point, and that is that we find that coming into Eretz Yisrael, and particularly how that implies also a reference to Moshiach and to Yosid Lovei, well, that's going to be, and it was also the Parshas when Yidden came to Israel, that's like a form of a reward, that's like a payment or a form of sachar and reward that the Yidden reach through their efforts of coming to Israel and conquering with their Muhammad Israel. But then they came in, so the Rebbe said that's like the two basic concepts of Avodah and Sachar. And it's like the general picture of Yidden during the time, the Achari Beis HaMikdash, what we might call the Zman HaKodesh, and the Zman, the Liyosid Lovei. Liyosid Lovei, that's going to be the Sachar. And as the Alter Rebbe brings down in Perek Lamed Vov in Tanya, they're like two, he hints at it over there, that they're like two stages in the Sachar of the Yosid Lovei. One, what will be the immediate follow-on for all of our work, and then Be'elef HaShvi, there's going to be a very, very high level of Sachar, which is not even graspable by us. It's so high. That's what he writes in the little Hagor over there in Perek Lamed Vov. So in Cain, we see that all the lack of rest and all the inyanim implied by Teitzei and Teitzei l'Melchama and all those inyanim, they are nonetheless followed, and the result of them will be the inyan of a tremendous sachar, and that is on two levels, the sachar that comes as a direct result of our avodah. What we'll go into that a little bit could be Beis Hashem as we go along. And then there's a much higher and more ultimate sachar, but that the Alter Rebbe hinted in the Hagor, that there'll be something much greater in the Elef HaShvi. So the Rebbe asks the question that how is it child to say, Beklal, the whole idea of sachar and of reward for the avodah that you didn't do. He said, Sachar is shaykh when you had no ultimate obligation to somebody, but you hire yourself out to do for him a certain task. Yeah, he requires, and he's got the ability to pay, and so you hire yourself. That's what's called a poel. And that's what we're dealing with here, that whole relation. As a poel, he gets paid, sachar. That's what's called, that's his wage, or his mashkoret is the expression over here for what he does. But basically, he's not obliged to do that. Only his necessities might require him to do it, but he has no relationship apart from that with the fellow boss. So he does his job, and the fellow boss pays him. And there's also a deal, a very special thing which we're going to refer to hopefully, and that is that when somebody works according to Etzem Halacha, when somebody's just a poel and he's working for you and he's doing for you a task, then there's a mitzvah in the Torah written in this parsha, "B'yomoi titein tzcharoi." You have to pay him on the day. In other words, that a poel, according to Torah, is only a day worker, yeah, and you have to pay him at the end of the day. And therefore, there's some Yidden who are very metactic, that if they have somebody to come to do a job, that they pay him by day. You know, they make sure that they pay him the day's work at the end. And just by the way, since I like telling stories, so we'll just tell you a brief story. It's brought down in the Kisvei Arizal. It's brought down in the Shara Mitzvahs, that the Arizal was very metactic about that. If he had anybody who did a job for him as a hired poel, he would make sure that he paid him. And even if he didn't have any cash on him at that moment, he would go out into the marketplace and look for people who loan money. In those days, you used to often have a loan of, a professional loaner of money. Or even more than that, he would even pawn a dress of his wife, wasn't it? Yeah, even Atzedek, he would pawn it in order to have money to pay the. So we see that in the day that you work, you've already got a certain time. In other words, that the sachar is immediate. It's not something that you have to wait a period of time, but in the actual time that you're doing it, yeah, you're already getting paid. And that's like almost like an understanding between you and the Balabait. And therefore, it's clear you got it, even before you begin the actual work, you already know that you're going to get paid, or you're already aware of the fact that you have the payment. So that's an interesting point we're going to deal with later on. However, the Rebbe says that we have a kasha on the whole concept of us getting tzachar for our avodah somehow here. For our avodah b'olam hazeh. How can we get the tzachar b'klal? So the Rebbe says the kasha is that we are not just, workers for Hashem, but we are His avodim. And it's brought down in the Torah, in several psukim, that Hashem says about the Yidden that there is avodim, avodai haim, and He calls the Yidden His servant. So a real eved is a slave. That's what it basically means. A slave doesn't get paid. A slave is lucky if he gets a bit of support, if he gets his basic requirements, but he doesn't get paid. The Rebbe said the whole question of payment for our avodah requires a beer. How does that fit in? And not only that, something that you're obliged to do and you have a chiyuv to do, you don't really get paid for that either. So the Rebbe said the whole yachas of an Eved is in such a way that he's lucky if he gets what he basically needs, number one. Number two, he's obliged to do it. He has no brainer. Yeah? And therefore, most of the mitzvahs that we do are chiyuviyos. They are obligatory on us. We have to keep the mitzvah. And if you don't do a mitzvah, then you're having an avera or you're being mevatel, the mitzvah. On that basis, on those two levels, the Rebbe still not understandable at all, this whole idea of Sachar. And then the Rebbe adds another thing to a further point, and that is that Rashi tells us that this whole war that you're going out, the Teitzei, Rashi says, "B'milchemes reshus akosuv madam," that this pasuk is talking about a milchemes reshus. Yeah,
Too much static. I don't know what's going on.
it's gone. Okay, that's also gone. No. This is not working. So everybody else, I can't really tell if I'm getting over or not.
Yes.
You can hear me? Yeah.
Yes,
Very
yes.
good. Okay. That's a strange situation.
Amen.
So, what's this whole idea of Milchemes Reshus? Milchemes Reshus implies that you're not mechuyav, it would appear, to make this war. For example, there's certain wars that are chiyuviyim, going into Eretz Yisrael and conquering the seven nations and taking over Eretz Yisrael. That's a Milchemes mitzvah. Milchemes Amalek, for example, has brought down that everybody has to go out. Those are, so it's a big discussion about that. Some people say that really Milchemes Amalek is a chiyuv on the middle, not necessarily on each individual. But nonetheless, it's a much bigger obligation. Those are Milchemes mitzvah. Here we're talking about, Rashi says, we're talking about where they're going out of Eretz Yisrael purely as reshus. Yeah, they don't have to do that, nor the Sanhedrin and Yidden decided they want to go out and conquer somebody that according to the Torah, they're not obliged to conquer. And that's what Rashi means by Milchemes Reshus. It's a formidable war, it's not an obligation. So therefore, the Rebbe said that further gets us into difficulty that this war doesn't seem to really be an obligation. So but on the other hand, the Klolos of Veda is an obligation. So why does Rashi stress that this parsha is Kilo Milchemes Reshus? It's not an obligation at all. And how does that fit in with the whole idea of Sachar? That's basically what the Rebbe are. So, in order to get to those basic questions, well, just by the way, I'm adding this as a sort of an extra tidbit, and that is that there's a lot to be said. Because certain great Rishonim, they don't agree with Rashi. And even though it's written they have to go out here, they learn that it's still talking about certain wars that are an obligation. But Rashi learns from the word Teitzei that you're going out, that's much more that you're going out from somewhere, but you're not really obliged. However, others don't necessarily learn that way. So come along certain great people, and they are medactic in the Pneumius Einyan. What does it mean? We spoke about this by the Fabring last night. What does it mean? Milchemes Reshus. So Chassidus teaches us that there are like several levels in what you do in your daily life. There are certain things which are a chiyuv on you. You have to do it, but you're obliged to do it according to. There are certain things which are a mitzvah, but they're not necessarily an absolute obligation. But if you do them, they have a higher status than just ordinary. It's called a mitzvah. And a mitzvah can sort of go in to a certain extent to the getter of a chiyuv, but it's not necessarily a chiyuv yet. Then there's what we call reshus. And reshus is what you're permitted to do. It's your part of your private, how do you call it, part of the deal, where you do during the day what you want to do, basically. And that's called reshus. So Rashi points out that even there, it's got to be a milchama. Milchama's reshus doesn't mean that you can just, that you could have a good day. How do you say? There's an old saying in the old vernacular, let's drink and get chicker, and because tomorrow we're leaving, we're dying, so we may as well have a good time, So that's not the way you can do it. You can't live your life that way. You have to make sure that the reshus, even, and it's by the way, the Ramban in Parshas Kedoshim, he holds that that's a mitzvah saseh min Torah. And the Alter Rebbe brings it down, Perek Lamed in Tanya. The Alter Rebbe quotes that the Ramban, he holds that it's a mitzvah, mamish min Torah. So according to the Ramban, you really don't have any reshus. Whatever's reshus, you also got a mitzvah to make sure that it has to be kodesh, kedoshim to you. But according to all opinions, even the reshus, it's got to be a sanctified area of your life. You know what the Alter Rebbe said? The famous remark. The Alter Rebbe said that in Yiddish, the Alter Rebbe said, "Was mitonit tomenit, and was mimeg dafnit." What you're not allowed to do, you're not allowed to do. But even what you're allowed to do, you don't really necessarily have to. That's what it means. That even though, that's left up to you, you don't have to do it, And that doesn't mean you have to fast either. So, but, so that's what Rashi hints at when he says, Milchemesh Reshut, that even the Reshus of our lives is a war. You got to be on the alert not to fall into, just having a good time. Just Reshus, my part of it. That's what Rashi hints at with the Milchemesh Reshut. That's what Rashi says, that really we're talking about a war that we're not obliged to do. So how does that fit into all this pattern that we've described? So let's get down to it. From here on, it becomes very, very deep, Derev Sicham. So what I want to point out to you is what's the basic line here. And the Rebbe says that first of all, let's take a quick look at, and that's why he writes here, me Yehudi, me who is it again? That's what he writes. The Rebbe doesn't talk about the Chok me Yehudi, but for good measure he puts in the me Yehudi. So what does it mean to be a Yid? Good question, isn't it? So the Rebbe said that a Yid is in Perek Beis in Tanya. The Alter Rebbe says that a Yid is a chelik elokah, a mimah. So let's examine, what does that mean? Yeah, I'm a chelik of the Eibishter Kaviyot. There's an old saying in the vernacular, a chip off the old block, Oh, you guys smile at this, you're very serious. Chip off the old block, yep. We're part Kaviyot of Hashem. And at Kedei Kach, It's brought down that when Hashem wanted to create the world, he asked for an Eitzah. Hashem himself wasn't really absolutely kaviochel sure that he wanted to go ahead with the Bria. He asked kaviochel, and he called a Eitzah, you know. He took an advice from somebody. And so it's, who did he take the advice from? So it's written in the Midrash that he took the advice from Nishmoiseihem Shel Tzadikim. He asked by the Neshamas of the Tzaddik. So if we're talking about before he created the world, he asked for the Nishmoiseihem. He asked by them what he should do. What are they doing there? Nothing's there yet. He hasn't created anything. Elamai, we have to say that the Neshamas, so the Tzadikim, you know, they're in the same league, in the same, how would we call it, you know, pitch game as the Eibishter himself, Kaviyom, yeah. And so therefore the Eibishter asked by the Neshamas of the Tzadikim. So you might say, well, Tzadikim, how many Tzadikim are there? So all Yidden are called Tzadikim. The Yeshaya Novi, he calls all the Yidden Tzadikim. Hashem asked, yeah, by the Neshamas of the Tzadikim, is a sign that they are, how do you call it? They are with him prior to the whole Bria. As in Cain, they have a situation where they're Lamaila Miha Oilam. Oh, Shalom Aleichem. So I'm just sort of summing up at the moment. I'm not reading from any given passage. I'm just summing up. I'm going to come in a minute. Anyway, like two days he said that Hashem took advice, as it were, from his own offspring in a very powerful way. They are the Neshamas of the Yidden are there with him before the Bria, you know, before the creation. And so you might say, well, that's a rather amazing, it's a medrash. And it's brought down in another medrash that there are several things which are before the creation, but the most primordial of all of them is the Neshamas of the Yidden. So we see from that the Neshamas of the Yidden are very, very primordial. And so the Rebbe says that means that they're before the whole Ishtoshulus of the Olamas, and Ishtoshulus or Olamas begins way up in the Oirein Tzefat, the result talks about it, even before the Tzimtzum, means that the Yid must be higher, even than that. They must be way, way up there. So, if that's the case, the Rebbe said, where does this whole idea of you being an Eved and you have to do something like that? He said, that's already after Hashem has made the whole system of the world, and he's made a whole tzimtzum and a whole, requirement of limitation, and therefore this follows from that, and this fits into that, and so on. That's the world with all the Yishalf. But if the Yidden are incomparably beyond that, and they had a word in the whole, whether it came about or not, I mean, they were very, how do we call it, significantly active in bringing about the whole thing. I said to them, what are they doing coming down into the world? You can't really say that on that level that they're obliged. Obliged is only a later stage. So what is the Yid doing coming all the way from Atzma Saint So into the Tzimtzum Rishon and into all the world? And therefore, Rashi says that the whole thing is a reshus. Shalom Aleichem. Nobody obliged anybody. You follow? The fact that the Yidden came down into the whole world, that was like voluntary etiquette. That's voluntary work. Etiquette. I've forgotten the expression, yeah?
Volunteer.
Volunteers.
Yeah, etiquette voluntary.
Yeah.
They stepped all the way down. Then they said to the Abishter, they're prepared to get down into eras for Kalim. There should be interrelation between different inyonim. They're prepared. Over the way they came. Nobody at that point applied to. And therefore the Rebbe's got a deal, an amazing deal. So like I should hear. The Rebbe says that Rashi says the Melchemes HaRishus HaKosul Medaber. So why does Rashi say Kosul Medaber? Just say that's the pshat, the Melchemes HaRishus. Because the Rebbe said a Kosul Medaber, that's already after you've got a Kosul, something written, and you already come down into the Seder of the Ulamas. Then it's a Melchemes Rishus. The people over the Shiur said those Rishus. Absolute. Oh, Mela, ask yourself the question: what did Yidden need the whole thing for? Why did they come down purely voluntarily? Why did they come down into the whole thing? What did they? So he said, Davki because the Yidden hold so high, and Davki because they're part of Hashem. And Davki Hashem asked them, what do they think about the whole thing? So they know what is the kavanah. They know what Hashem really wants, out of this whole thing. Because they're part and parcel of Hashem. So in Cain, they don't just know fact that there is this and that. They know what is the kavanah, what are we looking for? What do we really want around here? Because they're coming from the pneumias of the Abish himself. And therefore, why did they do it? Because they knew that's what Hashem wanted. And they knew that Hashem wanted. What did he want? Hashem. What did he want, Hashem? He wanted a dear Elohim, him. He's got the one, he's pointing down here. Now, the truth is that way back in Mem Zayin, I think it was, the Rebbe said that the whole thing that Hashem wants is dear b'taktoinim. It doesn't make any sense. Like it's written in some above, we don't really know why Hashem wanted him. That's what the altar is. Why did Hashem? We don't know. Or that's what he wanted. Yeah? He wanted Tavkid Dira B'Taktonim. So the Rebbe said, since the whole thing, he doesn't really have any, that's what the Rebbe said. He doesn't really have any reason at all. As in Cain, we have the right to say Ad Matai, how long is all this going to, as it were, last, Hashem doesn't really have any reason and obligation, for the whole thing. It's all he wanted. It's Taiva. And the altar said of a Taiva's concussion. Hashem wanted it that way. Yeah? So the Rebbe said, at my time, I was there. People's eyes are standing out there. That's what the Rebbe said. Oh, my God, come taste that the whole thing that the Yidden came down and they got involved in all this, that's what Rashi's Melchemes Rishus. They not really applied. They did it only for his sake. But nobody understands why. Does he want it this way? But that's what he wants. So what does he want? He wants a dirulei b'jaktoinim, shalom aleichem. He wants it right down to here in this one. So the Yidden said, listen, we're Rishus. If we go as far as Atzilas, let's say, we're still in Rishus. We haven't gone into the world's mamish yet. Maybe we'll just go that far. But they can't do that because they know that Hashem wants it down in the laws to all world. And therefore the Yidden are prepared to take the jump into Ishtoshalas without being obliged. Nobody forces them to do it, only because they want to carry out his will. And then once they come down here into the Ishtoshalas, then Hashem says, okay guys, I apologize, but now you've come down and you've given yourself over to the game. So there's certain rules in the game, Now you got to keep things because it's an obligation. Before all that, it wasn't necessarily the case. You follow? And that's the Indian Malchus. That's what Rashi, the way the Rebbe learns, it was it of Shad. Yeah, Malchus. Oh, my, is that Teitzei is a real thing. The Yidden were perfectly happy. It's one thing with Hashem. They didn't need anything. Oh, Teitzei. Yeah, when you will do it, I know you're going to do it. You're going to go out, from your place of manucha, and you're going to become involved in a whole war and a whole business and everything. Why are you doing that, my boy? What's scratching you to do that? Because they know that that's what Hashem wants. Even they don't know why. Oh, but they know that's what Hashem wants. They're prepared to go down into the Taktanim Sha'in, Taktan Lamata Himenu. That's what the old Torah writes. Ain't talking Lamata Himenu. And Herikut, Mata themselves around, and ain't talking Lamata Himenu, right to do what nobody knows why. Why he wanted that, but that's what he wanted. So they didn't say, here we are, our whole Indian is for him. We're prepared to do it. So on the one hand, it's a choy. They get involved in the choy, but they didn't have to. Even it's Malchus HaRashus. It's really a Rashus. Shalom Aleichem. This mamish, very, very profound in it. Of a hidden deep inside that whole concept that Hashem doesn't really have a reason why he wanted that. And therefore you can say, listen, if there's no reason and we don't really know what it's all about, so, at Matai, so you've had what you wanted, let's get moving to the Gula Shlema. You follow? That's what the Rebbe said. Yeah, and not only that, the Rebbe not only said that, the Rebbe said, by another upbringing, the Rebbe said, how long is the Shiur? How much is the Shiur of waiting? And that Hashem wants us in and everything. And it's a terrible mishmash and a terrible, balakan. And it's just going on. So the Rebbe said, Bifel is the Shiur, how much does he want? How long does this rotten lower or pitamata, how long is it lasting? Now I would suggest, it would seem to me, that there's never been a rabbinic figure in history that actually said that to Hashem. There were big rabbonim, they were big amongst the Polish rabbonim, from business stuff, of course, in the earlier stages, but they were very much into Mashiach. They very much wanted, and they were believed to be Mashiach, the Tzemach, not the Tzemach Tzedek, not Tzemach Tzedek. He was one of the link between Kosovo and business, and they thought he was a very big, very in. We don't hear from him that he said to Hashem, we forget the Shiur, how long is this going on? At Matai, so it's only the Rebbe. That's the unbelievable koyach of the Rebbe. That the Rebbe, Kavioho thought that you didn't have the right, since if they're a chilak and they're part of the whole agreement on the Bria, then they have the right to say something, They don't really understand what they're saying, but they have the right to say it, you understand? That was the whole, what the Rebbe brought in, and therefore the Rebbe said you should say Ad Matai. You know, you're quiet. You have to say, at my time. That's your right. If you are all this, then that's your truth. You have to do that. You know? Ay, ay, ay. Come to it. That when you think about it, it's an unbelievable, profound Indian. You didn't really need to be here, you know. You're a chilek guy from way, way before the whole Indian of Shiladi Oyer Harishain. Yeah. What did you need the whole thing for? As the old expression, you know, stay where it's good, you know. To say yourself, you know, what did you need to come down for? Yeah? Only for him, only for his sake. Oh, Emel Konda is that the whole Indian, and so the Rebbe, excuse me for getting a bit emotional, but the Rebbe brings down, that's what's written later in the Parsha, that all of a sudden the Pasuk mentions about Bilam. Bilam Aroj, and he wanted to, Rahman and Islam, he wanted to bring the opposite of blessing onto the Jewish people. Yeah? So it's written, yeah, V'loi ovo Hashem Elokecha lishmoya el Bilam. That's written, Hashem just didn't want to hear him. And that's also the Ma'ila Mitavad. Hashem just said, Aro, I'm not listening Malchatchila to him. You follow? Ma'ila asked the question, you know, what's that? You know, Ella, because Hashem knows that the whole fact of the Yidden, that they're in this world and they were there in the desert at that time, was all for him. And it's all like the concept of Hashem Shomai, yeah. And that's the whole idea. The whole basis of a Yid is only Hashem Shomai. He doesn't really, he's not really here because he has anything to do here. He's only here because of him, because of the Eva stuff. Oh, my love. The Midah Mesuyamaz, you can tie as Im Kain, Magilo Sachar, Im Kain. It's due to him as Sachar. And that's why ultimately he has the right to ask for Sachar. But once you're done on the lower level, where he's down in the world already, and therefore you're not supposed to look at Sachar. Both things are true. On the one hand, you're going to get a Sachar, but on the other hand, you don't have to look at it. You don't have to go after that. Like brought down in the Mishnah in Pirkei. Oh, my look, both things are true. On the one hand, yeah, Magila Chazchar. But on the other hand, you should make a whole Indian out of it. Because the way you are down there, you're just going to be a ever. And therefore it's brought down, yeah, to you avoid him, yeah. Shemesham Shemesarav Shelo Manas Lekabel Prad. You know? Oh, that's only about him. That's what you. Okay, Mihu Yehudi. Let's come in. So, you'll forgive me, but my sort of machine is running down a little bit, but we'll deal with this a bit, and then we'll see what happens. So he says, Yetzias Nishmose Yelud Le'oilom Hazeh, Ki Teitzei L'Milchama, yeah, Mi'agedes B'toicha Shtei Tchunas, yeah, Basiziyoi. Im Kain, the coming down of a neshama, of a Yid into this world. That's on page 299. 299. Mihu Yehudi. It unites in itself. Magid means it like ties up inside itself two opposite characteristics, or very basic characteristics. They said, in order to fight the world, the Rebbe said, you're supposed to be mezachik yourself and the world. You follow? So you could say, well, I'm from very high level. I'll be Mazahik myself. That's not such a hard thing. Oh, but I should be Mazahik the world and bother about purifying the whole world. I mean, why should I do that? So the Evis Hanami, you're not really obliged, but you've taken that on, so you got to do the job properly. You got to be Mazahik yourself and the world. יש צורך שהנשמה תרד ותשלבש בגוף גשמי. אם כן, if you're going to look after the world as well, you're going to come all the way down and enter the Gashmistic world. So how do you enter the Gashmistic? You just fly around in a balloon or something? You come down and you're inside a Gashmi's body. Yeah? You're put into a Guf Gashmi inside the Elam Gashmi. Yeah? Oh, that's all because you are coming down in order to do what he wanted of a dira bataktoinia, not a dira b'oilamatila, no, a dira polamata. Therefore, you come down into the world and you've got a job to purify that world through purifying yourself. Yeah. Avamela b'deisha zichor ha'ilum. Yeah, but it'll be inside the world, and as it were, the way the world does things. That's the whole inner Hashem wanted. He wanted dearly, but to him. He wanted it down here. So that's why he came down. Right? He said, so he said, once she's in the makeup of the world, yeah, the milchama you have as a word, tzad shekeneged, you have an opposing force that you got to fight, and that's the Gashmias of the world, and the Gashmias of the world has a trace of what we call Ra. And Ra is something new altogether. That's another story altogether. Well, that's because Hashem wanted that the Dira should be the way it is in this world. And therefore, you got to busy yourself and you got to be part of the world. Me, though, from the other side, however, the last say Ra'ui, since the whole inner of a man is that he's got to be busy in the world, in order that he should be able to do that, and he should be able to make it the way it should be, should be the way Hashem wants it in his very essence. He wants a dear labor to him. He said it has to be felt in this world, and it has to be clear to each individual yid and to those around him that he's from a very high madriga. He's from the essence of Hashem himself. Moitoya means your source, from where you went out, from where you came down. Shoirish nishmosai, amuchadim, imakadosh baruch hu b'atzmai, that you are united with the Eibishter. Yeah, your mom is part of him, not just united. So anything, any move, Kavayohu, you make is a going out. It's a key Teitzei. Anything you will do is a key Teitzei. But that has to be, as it were, felt and realized when you're in the world. Really, you got both things. You got on one hand, you come down into a Gashmir, and you got all the problems of fighting a physical world. But on the other hand, you have to know that you come from a very, very high source, and you are a chilek. So now, nobody will have any shilas anymore. Why does the Tanya, the Sefer Tanya, how's it written? The second peri, the first peri, he's just defining for you what is a Beinani, how does a Beinani fit in? Then what does he say? The Perik Beis, Nevish Hashem is B'Yisrael, who Chelik Eleka Mim, Shalom Aleichem. You understand? Tell me about that later on. Get ahead with the work. You know, what is a Baini supposed to be doing around here? No, first of all, in order for you to be a Bainani, you got to know what koiches you have and where you come from. And therefore, you got to know that you are a Chelek Kamima. Otherwise, you're likely to say, oh, yeah, Shalom Aleichem. What do you want me so good? You understand? So therefore, they have a supposing. You got to do the job. You got to come down into the physical world and fix it up. But you got to know that you have the core of the etzem of the Eibishter, and that's why you are asked to do that. Yeah, and you come from the etzem, and that's the first thing the Alter Rebbe tells him before he goes there. What a Bainani is and what's he supposed to be doing. He tells you that he got a neshama that's a chelek mimah. And what did the Rebbe Rashab say? You know the story. When the Rebbe Rashab was learning with the Frierdiker Rebbe, he taught him Tanya. They had a quiz, but they learned Tanya together. So the Rebbe Rashab said, it's written, the Alter Rebbe says, that the neshama is a chelek elokah mimal mam. You follow? So what does it mean with the word mummies? You know, anybody suspects that it's not mummies? Yeah, why does he have to say? If he says it's a chelek based on a pasuk, that's a pasuk in here. Chelek elokah, yeah, mimal. Why does he put the word mummies in? So the Rebbe Rashab said because that chelek elokah mimal, it's got to come down into the mummies. It's got to come down into the physical world, and it's got to deal with the physical world, and it's got to sanctify. But you've got to know where you're coming from. Oh, and that's what gives you the koyach to do it. Oh, so he said, "L'kol Yehudi yeh Mashiach, eina yochel hipored chas v'sholem me'akadosh baruch hu." Oh, we have no idea what the Alter Rebbe brought into the world. All these concepts were not known, you know, in this ordered way prior to the Alter Rebbe. And that's why the world, they didn't want the Alter Rebbe, you know. What they didn't realize, he was a great man. They did, but they said, we can't take that, you know. So what do they put him in a jet, you know, hoping that he would be put, you know, sorry. You know, can't take this, you know, it's too much for us. So what is the Alter Rebbe saying? The Alter Rebbe said in Yiddish, Nita Yid ken und Nita Yid will, sein abgerissen von Malchus. You know that. Not a Yid is able to, another Yid wants to be separate from Malchus. Yeah? So that's what the Rebbe says now. If you're a chelek elokah mimah, and your mom is from him, you're part of him, and that's the whole story, then you can't be separate from Malchus. You could maybe make yourself Meshuggah, but you can't be separate from Malchus. You can't ever really be separate. You know? And that's what it's brought down. And that's why, another reason why he points that out at the beginning of the Tanya. And he doesn't say only a few years know like that. He says that's Neshomas Kodesh Torah. You know, Ali. So, you know, you can't come along and say, wait a minute, me, no, you know. You know, Chaim Yankele, yeah, but it means, because you're part of the Chelek Elokah, just like Chaim Yankele. You follow? He said, therefore, a Yid is not able to be chas v'sholem nifrad from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shekein, gam kan ba'ilom, mugeshes boi nishmosei ha'elokis, al-muchedes im ha'boi rei. He's one thing with the he was down here in this world, mummy. That's what the Rebbe Rashab said to the Frierdiker Rebbe. When you hear these things, yeah, but when you begin to realize what is the pshat, you know. I remember Rav Noam Gafne, you say, what's a pshat? You know, what's a pshat? You know, that's the pshat. You want to with the Abisha. Tovazeh Marumas Gamba Pasha Ki Sove. Not only in our Pasha Ki Teitzei, but even in Ki Sove, it's also Marumas. How? So he's a mitzadeh chod nidrosh mi and l'shomali konis, v'lo ve'al toicho elam hazeh hakashmi. Yeah, mitzad echad, you have to come down into the world and you got to purify the world. Ki sovei oretz. Oretz means way down here. You got to come down into the world. Mitzad hashayini, b'tzura kazu, ayudi matli lekadesh, ulazachik is oretz, ulahoiv kol eretz yisrael. But it's not stama oretz, ki tavoya oretz eretz yisrael. Where are you benching? It's Eretz Yisrael. You're coming into Eretz Yisrael. How does it become Eretz Yisrael? Because you make it that way. You're Kelech Elokam. So you come into the world and you make it because you remember the whole time that you're coming from where you're coming. You can turn to Eretz Yisrael, Eretz Kadosh. Ad kedi kach, שהאורץ הופכת להיות ראוי ומתאים עליהם כימום הקבוע של בני ישראל. So he said, what are you doing by coming into Eretz Yisrael and making it into Eretz Yisrael? And you change it into a different world altogether, and that will be the fitting place forever for all the neshamas of Yidden. In other words, you're preparing for the Geula. That's called you make you're going into Eretz Yisrael only to make it into Eretz for Israel, for the other neshamas to be there permanently. Shaheim be'etzem elikus bataros, yidna be'etzem elikus, and b'melakehem shiraposi, v'yirashto v'yishavto. You have to take it over, and you have to sit there as a uniform. Yishashvas, permanency. Yeah, how can you be permanent? The holy land, you are Chelek Elokai, and you're making it there, and you have the right to be there. You're Chelek Elokai, and you did the job. You know, you did the work. So he says, you follow? Because you didn't really have to do it. And you got involved, but you did it perfectly, and you remembered that what is really going on with you. And therefore you get a sakha. And over what you get is like the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, that the schar mitzvah is the mitzvah itself. The very ending of the mitzvah is Ratzon Hashem and forming a connection with the Eibishter, which means bringing the Eibishter b'golui. So that's what a mitzvah is, and that's the schar mitzvah. The schar of the mitzvah is bringing Elokus into this world and changing it into a dear Yisborah. That's in the mitzvah. Of a schar mitzvah, who a mitzvah. Yeah. Absolutely unbelievable. Those are the pshat. Everybody breaks their head, What does the Alter Rebbe mean over this schar mitzvah? The simple pshat is that if I do one mitzvah, then I'm zeicher to do another mitzvah. That's the simple pshat. Yeah, the Alter Rebbe says noch another. Over he learns a different pshat. Schar mitzvah, and he writes that the shachar of the mitzvah, that is the mitzvah itself. What's that a pshat? No, the holding of a mitzvah is chibur with a kodesh. And Ali Teitzei, you bring down Malchus into the world. Oh, that's the whole thing. Those are the ganze Sacha. And what's going to be losit love is you can have Malchus in the world. And that's the Sacha you bring down. The Kunta is that the Schar of the mitzvah. That's what the mitzvah is all about. That is the mitzvah. If but talk the mitzvah, you have already the Sacha. And but talk the Sacha, you can see the mitzvah. Oh, now we'll know why it is. Everybody forgive me, I'm just running out of time. But now we'll understand why you got the sin of Beyoim or Tita in Chana. You have to pay the worker on the day. 'Cause right from the very beginning, he's into it. He's already, the first mitzvah he does, any day, he's already got the schar. He's already brought down the Ein Sof into the world. He's got the schar with him. No matter the Eberster pays up good, he pays the schar right at the beginning, at the opening of the day. Yeah. So you might say, what sort of mitzvah do I have with them? At the very fact that you say Moedani and you make nigga with the Shena mitzvah. You know? The Kwa mitzvah. Well, you've already got schar mitzvah. You've already got the gilui of the Ein Sof. That's the schar. And that's the mitzvah. So, oh man, I never to look easy. That the Eberster pays up right at the beginning. He pays up the Etzem Sachar. Beyond my Teitzei Scholar. Absolutely unbelievable. Oh, but why is it all called Milchemes Reshus? Because right from the very beginning, nobody applied you. Oh, but once you got in, you came into the ball game, then it says, oh, if we're already into the ball game, then we're doing it my way. Oh, but mitzad etzem shorosh nishmos, and yet, Davki, because of that, he pays your sachar. Davki shemelachatchila, you didn't really need to hold the chef. It's an amazing concept, absolutely mind-blowing. That's why you get sachar. Once you're down here, you don't really earn the sachar. You're Tzedek outside of Torah that you get. Over the fact that you got involved yourself, well, that earns you the sachar. And that's right there at the beginning of the Avodah. Beyond my Teitzei Scholar. Right. And you know, that's written in the Kisvei Arizon, that beyond my Teitzei Scholar is Oitze Rosh Tevis, beyond my Teitzei Scholar, Shabbat. Beyond my Teitzei Scholar is Rosh Tevis Shabbat. Shin Beis Tov. Yeah. What does that mean? The Rizal writes that if you do your work the whole week, you get another sachar, also relatively at the beginning of the Veda, and that is that on Shabbos, you have a different Shabbos because of all the work you did in the middle of the week. And the Eberster pays up sachar on Shabbos for what you did during the week. So, for that week. That's the pshat. Yom Teitzei on that Shabbos. So the Shabbos is amazing. It's like you're gaining the sachar also in a way that's not really an obligatory thing. It's like an amazing, because you did your work faithfully, therefore Shabbos, you have a Yiddish Shabbos. Follow? And that's why it's strange. That's why in Lubavitch, you see these pictures of, ideal Lubavitch. So what do you see? Shabbos afternoon, when everybody's already out of the chon and they're already sloppy or something, what do you see? Lubavitch, you tell this over the head, you see a guy, swaying back and forth till who knows when, in the late afternoon. Because he wants to be part of the sachar, he wants to get the sachar, There should be Yom Teitzei Scholar, Shabbos. He wants to be involved. He wants to be in the picture. I told you guys, see this? And I told you guys when I when I came to Eretz in Lud before the Shiur went to Shabbos, they were bothering Mamis the whole Shabbos afternoon. They would just but they want to be Mekayim. So I told you they want to be Mekayim Suda Shabbos. So just before midnight, they would run around looking for some shirayim, They find a bit of wine with it. I told you the story about the bacher that he asked for a mendel. It's 1.5 colors, any good, for like a mister. And Reb Mendel didn't bat an eyelid, and he passed him. That's perfect. Ay, ay, ay. He didn't hear the original thing.
No, I didn't hear just now.
Booker didn't find two Bukala, he only found 1.5.
Ah.
So this was already later when the Shiur had gone over to Quachabat, but it was early, and Reb Mendel, he just came to take over being the Mashpia. And Reb Mendel also used to daven late, but he didn't daven the whole time, right up till Mincha, as he'd gone home, and he came back again into the zone for Mincha, and he walked up, so this Pocha goes running over, and I was standing in the zone at that time. I heard the whole thing. He ran over to Reb Mendel. He saw the Mashpia, you know. He said, Reb Mendel, I can't find 2 full Bukalak. I can find a Bukalak and a half. That's all I can I be Yitzim like a Mishnah with that? So Reb Mendel didn't bat an eyelid. He didn't think for a minute. Reb Mendel said, can't you Yitzim? You can be Yitzim with that. He said, if you thought carefully, he said, after you've been davening the whole Shabbos afternoon, then you should realize that there's nothing more whole than a half a cup. That's what the Malchus said. And I'm standing just a few meters away, and I'm listening in. So what happened on Shabbos, you're not supposed to use computers on Shabbos, but I put that into my computer, you know. That went into my computer. Where we yeah, oh, yeah. Him. That's what he writes in Nagoya. I'm very comfortable. Oh. Well, everybody forgive me, but I've got a rather demanding time, so I'm gonna be Messiah here. But we got the main point. We got the whole thing. So later, you know, the Rebbe said, well, that's all we need for Chodesh Elul. Chodesh Elul is like the preparation for the summing up of the past year and the preparation for the coming year. So the Rebbe said, if it's already the summing up of the past year, then we have to say that you've had the whole of Veda. And since we're starting something new, and we're preparing for the new, we have to say the Eberster pays you up just like he does on Shabbos. He pays you up the whole Sachar for everything you've done during the year. But when we're nice of the Schar, the Pelabohi, there's also a Nasin, a Schar Miyuchad for the whole Tashlum HaAveda in Chodesh Elul. Therefore, Elul is an amazing Matzia, because Elul is a Gilui of Atzmiyas that, to a certain extent, one can argue that even on the Yom Noraim, there's not such a Gilui, and that's the inyan of Gilui Atzmusa, the Gilui. What does that to do here? Because that's the inyan of what we see here at the etzem rotten of the Eberster and the Kavona Pnimias for Atzmias, which is Moshe's in the etzem neshama of every year. Well, that's what's Mishkalim for Lamata. Alidei what he's Muslim that betachit Sashleiman through the Hachona of Elam and through the Tshuva. The Eberster gives him the whole pekel for the past. And now we're going to start a new period. There was the coming year. But when you meet up with the Koyach Atzmi, doesn't the Koyach Atzmi? That's cute.
Amazing. Whoa.
Yeah, quite a formula, eh? I should have can't hear them. Should be accident, I see my tail.
I hear him say that he's a good what's funny with him. That's funny with me.
Oh, you got a huh, right.
Maybe so. That's smart.
We have a choice.
We do have a choice?
Yes, for sure.
How do we have a choice?
Nobody's obliging you.
We have a choice
So
to come
that's
down?
what we said. Why do you do it?
We have a
Because
choice
you
to come
know, because you're part of him. You know what he really wants. You know the real kavanah. What's the emes story?
down? How do we have a choice to become
So
into a
you
body?
have that Mesiras never to come down and do davki for him in mitzad the Geda hatachto in Atzma. You follow? And you come down into the Elam hatachto for that reason.
We decide to come into a body and come down to this earth. We decide.
Come down with a bottle.
We decide to come down into a body. We do decide.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
So
that.
since we decided to come down, Magila Nusachah. Judo's
So if we said no, we wouldn't come. We had a choice.
We had a choice of you. And that's the whole inyan. That's the whole inyan what the Alter Rebbe writes in Parshas Moyer in Likutei Torah, that the koach habachira by Yidden is mushus in atzmos ha'yisparah. And therefore the Umas Ha'olam, even though they have a certain gather of bachira, they don't have real bachira. Real bachira is only by Yidden, because they are mushus kayochel batmos. That's the Yidden of Bami Nimla, Ben Ishmael Shel Tzfat. You got that in. We're all part of the. It's like I said, the expression in English, a chip off the old blood. And that's the Indian. That comes all the way down with you. And therefore nobody really obliges you. But once you get into, say, these stuff, then there's certain rules that you got to do it this way. But nobody obliges. And that's the sort of bechira. Well, that's why it is that you know bechira.
Yeah.
It's an amazing idea. Mind blowing. You know, why is it that we have bechira, the rest of the world doesn't? Yeah. So the Rebbe said, you chose Malachatchila. How would you choose? Because you're on the same level as him. He can choose, you can also choose. And that's what's written in Likutei Torah over there in Parshas Maya. Oh, that's what the Alter Rebbe said. Philip Klein. And you should realize that that's why that these guys put the Alter Rebbe in prison. So the Alter Rebbe, you know, he blew the whole world, you know. He said. And that's why these guys said, you know, we can't take this the Alter Rebbe. You know, we have to put him away. He just changed the whole. Nobody has bechira, only because you're a chelik at the Etzem, that's why you have bechira. And you use it. And you said, him came, since he wants a certain thing, then I'm choosing to want that. And that's why I went there. The chemists were shoes. I'm humble. Right at the very beginning of everything, you use the koach of the atzma, right at the very beginning. The more you sort of deal with the whole thing, it becomes more and more and more, you know. Hold on. Amen. Philippi.
Friede קרה בזרם הנישואין. ופרידה קרה בזרם הנישואין.
Ja. Ja. Yud Gimel is Yud Aleph is the Rebbe himself. So right at the end of the Sikha, the Rebbe talks about Nesuyin. It's basically the same inyan. But the whole inyan of Nesuyin is the yichud of two people, and they become one. Like it's written, they become like one entity. And that's because B'Shor Shoyinyan, that's what a yid is. B'Shor Shoy, he is Etzem Echad. V'mi Nimel Kaviyov. Hashem was Nimel with himself Kaviyov. And that's the yid. And that's the Inyan of Nasuya. And therefore the Inyan of Nasuya is more than Nasiya, elevation. You elevate yourself to your real point. And that's why it is that the Nasuyan of the Rabbim, or at least the Frierdiker Rabbim, the Rebbe, also I think was one of the other sons of the Rebbe Marash, was also in Elul. So, because Elul is, like we said, Elul is the time of the Gilui of this Atzmius, the Keshoyers, of the Yidden, you know. But me Nimla permission, so. And Elul is the, what you might call the, you know, it's the, to use the expression, it's the right moment, you know. Yeah. The August time. Of a middle time, verstandig, why it is that La Fouque from, it's one on that Gedele, I don't want to use the expression, it's not anymore. Gedele Lo Chassidim, they weren't in favor of customers in that. They didn't go for it. And we see by Chassidim, they have to look for it. Davki in El, Davki by the Rebbeim and the Siyam. Yeah, now it makes sense according to the Biur and the Rebbe. Well, that's the Isyachtas of the Etzem B'toch HaEtzem. That's what a Nasuyan is. It's an Echod. An Echod is Davki when you have two entities and you unite them together. That's in of a Nasuyan. And therefore, a Nasuyan is an elevation. It's like a return to your Etzem point where you really are. And that's what it is. Hashem didn't listen to Pilum. It lay over right from the very beginning. It's not Shia. Right from the very beginning, Hashem said, not Shia. And in Elul Tishrei, that therefore the Rebbe Ayatz in Amman, I said to him, the Rebbe Ayatz brings down that Eloi Ovo Hashem Alekeh is on Rosh Hashanah. Lishmoya El Bilam or something is Yom Kippur, and then Ki Ahaivko Avaya Alekeh. Or this is Sukkot V'Simcha. So a whole way he reckons it out. And before that, it's written in the Pasuk. Next week's Parshas Yisrael, it's in Hashkifo, Memayin Kochko, Nima Shomayim, and the Medrash Rashi brings it, that Gedela Hashkofa Zu, Shebetoila, Shemahapa is Kol Hashkofa, that normally speaking, Mashkifa not so good. Or by poets written, Hashkifo, we ask for it, Hashkifo. Yeah, men Shomayim, yeah, Uvorei Chazam, it's just for the Indian from Brocha Davkit Neshomas. Well, that's the Infanel, that's the Hakdoma to the Indian from Amitius Kiyum of Rosh Hashanah, which is the Emasa Indian of the Nasuya. And that's a Hashkova, Mimain Kochka, that's like the finding of the union and the hitam between the neshamas and the earth. It's Mavu in Jerusalem, and so it's the It's the Yom HaNesuyin from the Frierdiker Rebbe.
Mazuta.
Tov Shin, yeah.
Mazuta.
Yeah, no, good.
Mazuta.
Oh, well, it's Mavui and Tov Shin and the Maimon Hashkifo me mein Kutch Chomen HaShomayim. Yeah. And Omer Hashem Shalom, be Be'ez Hashem. Sivan Asima Teva, the Emma says, Lefi Zeh, that the reason we give the bracha, Sivan Asima Teva, and the Rebbe is wiser that you should really say also, the Gemach Sima Teva. You know, we haven't got there yet. What do we Yeah, because you really did. If you really woke up, what are you doing and who are you? And you thought about Perry Base and Tanya, that you're a Chilakahan, Mimal, and to the Infomamis. Then you get moving, different. You're already in it. Atakwa was there. Therefore, it's all as it were. And that's the Indian of the Mela Basode, that's intimacy, you follow? The Mela wants it. He wants that everybody should come out and meet him in an informal way. Not very homophobic, no, an informal way. And that's the Indian of informality. Well, that's what it's written by the Khan Sipor. It's written Prat Lemazuma. Rashi brings that the whole Indian of the Khan Sipor is Prat Lemazuma. It's not an ordered thing. It's not something that you planned out before, as it were. It's an innovation, the etzem, you know, like finding the etzem. Mitzad the Malchus etzem. Like we learned here, Melchemes Rushu. Melchemes Rushu. Yeah, Felle Dika Meisen, Philip Platt. Yeah. And that's the whole innovation. Can't super. Felle Dika. I was in what he called Monroe a few years ago when I had this, with Zev Zelenko, when I had the, how do you call it, the procedure they called it. Like I had this in tour, they went all the way up here. Close to the brain. And when I was a little bit better, and I was recuperating, we went into the Chicken Sotma, and there's a guy there. He's a younger man, but he makes panosa out of the mitzvah of Shulur Hakan. Yeah, what do you mean he makes panosa? You see, that's upstate New York, and in upstate New York, it's like, you know, north part. So it's a lot of forest land up there. And the Chicken Sotma from Monroe, it's like they cleared away a lot of that sort of right at the edge of a lot of trees and forest country. So right outside the Chicken Sotma, even inside, they're big trees, you know, these big, but they're very sort of Bobatisha trees, you know, they're very good trees. So the birds make nests in these trees. And it's got to be a special bird, you know, you can't just take any bird. It has to be a special kosher bird. And so these kosher birds, they have these, how do you call it, nests in all these trees on the outskirts. So he learned all the halachas, you know. He learned all the halachas of Shilur Hakan. And he invites people, he goes all around and he knows there's a nest here and a nest there, yeah. But it all has to be Pratla Mazuman. It's not under, if it's sort of in somebody's backyard and, you know, you can't do it because they know about it, they've already got their eyes on it or whatever. It's not Pratla Mazuman, you follow? But there's plenty, there's enough for everybody to use the expression, yeah. So what he does, he's pocky, but touches of Akiyas in all halachas. It's amazing. Yeah. So he goes around where a lot of the tourists and people come to visit, you know, and they get the Rabbi Yoel Shotma, he's buried up there in one hole. That's where he's buried. So a lot of people come, to be Mistater or Kibbutz. So he intercepts all these people. He says, "You want to be Mekayim Mitzvahs Shiur Hakan?" And he gets these people going up into trees, and he takes a fee. People pay him very nicely for it. So Zav and I went, and they were, So I helped him. I had a part in the mitzvah. I couldn't climb the trail. I'm sorry, Zav, I could only get up a certain way, and then Zav got up and he climbed up into the tree, and he sent away the mother. And then we took the eggs with us, and they were little beautiful eggs. And according to certain opinions in halacha, you have to eat the eggs. If you don't, then it's like as if you sent for no reason. You didn't really want the bun. It's a bonim tikach log. Has to be that you want the bun, because you want to use them. Otherwise, it's like the Ramban, right? And I'm sorry, the whole mitzvah about this whole limud al-Rahmanas, whether that's a real reason or it's not a reason. The Ramban talks about it, the whole big arenas, So, so outside is it, you should use and you should show that you want the egg. So we took them home and we cooked them, a beautiful little egg. We ate them. And he sent away the mother. And there's a whole thing in the Tzemach that indicates the whole inyan of the return of Yidden to the base of. So immediately after that, drink Kishiv near Bayis Chodos, and Bayis Chodos means the base of Mikdash. Oh, amazing, nice. And it's brought down in certain Sforim that the mother, doesn't come back. So that it can occur, it can happen. But usually she doesn't come back. She goes and she warns, even though she didn't see you take them, that you're not allowed to touch them. But she nonetheless, as it were, feels a certain, how do you call it, gagua for her. And what happens to her is she goes out over the sea and she falls into the sea.
Wow.
That's what happens to these mother births that are sent away. And that's because she can't have any material without the bonim. So that's the whole remez. Kaviohol also Tinyonim Ruchnias. Kaviohol, there was or certain levels also. Aim as the Bina. That's the bonim in the sense. A whole big area, Pile Plus, one of my. And upon him, I remember he came over to the house later. He told us exactly where to go, and he watched from a distance. And they wrote him out a check. That's how he lived, this guy. And people come from all over, and particularly those that come up to be Mr. Ter. At the cave of Rabbi Yoel, and there's a lot of them.
It's a segula?
Huh?
It's a segula?
It's a segula? Oh, yeah.
It's yummy.
It's written in the Torah before it. The man is there, the Horakta Yomim. It's a segula, Larita Shomim. But the Horakta Yomim, the Gemara says, Le'elam Abba. But that's referring to the Arita Shomim, the Elam and so Rashi says, Pratla Mazuman, that's how Rashi began. And that's what he says here, B'Muchemes HaRushut, of course of Medaber. It's the same Mechutan, you follow? That's Rishut, it's like L'mayla Mikol HaGidorim, Mitzad HaBachira Atzmis. The same thing here, Pratla Mazuman, it's not an ordinary Seder finished off. It's L'mayla, it's like another gather order. And that's Mila Besodi. Then what's he doing in the field? The Malchus says so. He wants. It could be that he's already been somewhere and he's coming back into the city. Then let's go Pilate, the way the Alter Rebbe learns it. Because the Talmidei Amagid, they had another Moshe from Mela Besodi. Yeah. I just don't know the Korah now they go into the whole thing. Over there, the Alter Rebbe, he learns that the Melech has already finished what they say. He's been away, and now he's coming back. And before he enters the city, he wants to have an intimate moment with all his subjects before he enters. And that will give the koyach that later, even if you'll be in Hegel Malchus, you'll be able to, because you have already a kesser. That's the whole in it, way the Alter Rebbe. Pratla Muzuman, it's an unusual thing. You meet up with the king in the field, Shalom Aleichem. He's all informal and you're informal. So the whole idea of informal is a chap, you follow? I tell you, and that's what Rashi writes, Pratla Muzuman, Pilapla. Oh. And that's what Rashi writes at the beginning, the Muhammad Sarush, and that's what the Rebbe tells us it's all about. Pilapla, Mamishka. There's a whole bay of us. We should use the opportunity. Contest every day in Elul is like a special day, That's what the elders said. Why isn't it Yom Tov? Because it's a special day. So the Alter said, Lama Zelo Yom Tov. So it all makes sense, So, winds in and fits in, Why? Lama Zelo Yom Tov. So Ruria, but it says Yom Tov. But it's beyond, the necessities. It's informal. And informality is a yonder all the time, It's a very special type of yonder. And then after that, you have, Masuda de very Masuda. That's like we saw here. But when you first come in, you'll be under all that, informal, for sure. Then you come into that, then that's got to go so through. So the whole thing is hidden in an unbelievable marshal of the Alter. No, Donnie, what do you say?
The Shiur, yeah.
Well, how do we understand the part of the Dvar Malchus that says that every Jew has a box full of the matan scharen with the key, and all you do is open it?
That's another matter. The Alter Rebbe over there in Dvar, he's saying, everything you do is Hamshochas Ha'atz Muslamata, and you're making in the Gidre Ho'il, you're making the Tira and everything. We just seem to live, So the problem is yours. It's not really the Evis's problem, it's yours. But the Alter Rebbe said, nonetheless, you got the whole thing. It's just that you have it locked up in a. But here in this Seder, he writes that you can also open it. You have the ability to open it. That if you really see the whole thing, Muslim, it's like opening it. Like opening a book. See, we don't understand that the Rebbe never wants anything, not fully completed. The Rebbe, anything. So therefore, a locked up teva is not a complete thing. You got the whole guilt inside, but it's locked up. So the Rebbe said, "What's up's locked up?" So I have to open it. That's the Rebbe everywhere. Look carefully. That's the Rebbe everywhere, everything. That was what's Mapito, and the same when they get to what's going on with the Gula, There was a cure, the girl, holding by the girl, poor mama, and top of the girl. And that's what he said, wie viel is the Shiur? Yeah? I was there with her. I'm saying, wie viel is the Shiur? If it's all purely because he wants it that way, so he can stop, bring about something else, So why not? Let's get moving. And the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, that's the whole reason why the world was created. So if that's the whole reason, so the Rebbe said, why should we be locked up in a taiva, Let's over it, let's get moving, Chaim. What is it?
A brocha, push them. Who is this?
Is that a bracha or something?
Yehudis Bina.
Yehudis Bina Bas Chain. Yeah.
Rosanna, sure, take him out now.
Just said it. What's my Yehudis?
Sima Dvar Bas Musa.
That's what you're saying.
Sima
That's
Dvar.
what
Yeah.
he said one thing.
That's what he-
Yeah.
Should be a Be'ez Hashem. Whatever it has to be, well, mommy.
And
Take simple to live.
that's your wife.
We are 80.
I don't know, it's not so
Gabriella.
serious. Gabriella Penina Basi.
Gabriel Flynn Bas.
Trying to be good.
Tell us on the table.
So if we're already talking, is Rivka Bas 12, should also, I got a daughter, she needs a Shiur.
Ibriya.
Amen.
So Tavot.
For a mama.
Rivka
So if we're already talking,
Boira.
Zora.
Gafne, you were
yeah, Rivka Bas 12.
So Tavot.
Chaim.
Gafne, there was a Tsfat yesterday from Rav Chaim Kaminsky.